My next guest comes from arguably the most beautiful city in all of North America, Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Let's say hello to Mike Stringer from Spiritbox. Mike, how are you?
Doing well. How about you, Lou?
I'm really well. You know what? If I could put you on the spot to act as a spokesperson for the Canadian Tourist Board, talk a little bit about Victoria and that area because it's no lie. It's like a fairy tale bookland.
It's gorgeous. I implore everybody to visit at least once in their lifetime. It's incredible. It's probably one of the most beautiful places I've been on the planet. I've traveled most of America, most of Canada, most of Europe. And yeah, I could definitely say it's one of the best places and most beautiful places that I've ever been.
Personally, I'm not a very fancy person when it comes to food and drink. However, I only drink tea that comes from the Empress.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, it's hilarious. Everywhere I go, everyone's always like, "Oh, you got to try this restaurant. You got to do this." It doesn't compare to 99% of what's available in Victoria.
Yeah, the tea there at the Empress Hotel is just incredible. What was the
Yeah.
music? See, and again, you're doing this for a while, and most people know you from I Wrestled a Bear once prior to Spirit Box, which is, by the way, one of the great band names of all time. But what was the music scene like that early on for you?
It
Is
was
it more or less just connected to the rest of the BC scene?
Victoria was special for a minute, like there was when I was first getting into it in 2008, you would go to a community hall show and there'd be 200, 300 kids there. And every weekend, really. I mean, it was very, very popular. And like as things do, there's cycles and there's times where, it wasn't as popular, but especially in the early days, it was very, very special. And there was a lot of really incredible bands that came out of Vancouver Island, especially. It really accelerated my desire to play music professionally, and just the sense of community and meeting all my friends through those shows too. Very, very important times for sure. So I have a lot to be thankful for playing music in Victoria at an early age for sure.
So why do you think it is, other than, obviously Spirit Box music is of a very excellent quality, but having had a couple of go rounds before, why is it that this has caught on and just, you've kind of captured lightning in a bottle?
I think a lot of it is trial and error. Spent a lot of time in my first band touring relentlessly, like when I was a kid, was 16 through when I was about 21, 22, just touring Canada and America as much as possible. And then I got the I Wrestled a Bear Once opportunity, which was a whole new learning experience for me because it was like I went from this level of touring to this level of touring, and I learned so much right off the get-go. But from that experience too, I learned a lot of what not to do. And so when we started Spirit Box, it was just kind of like, okay, we've had me and Courtney now have had these opportunities and these moments where we've been touring a lot. We've seen certain things, we've learned certain things within the industry. Let's try to do things differently. Let's try to build a demand first and then go out. And that was very important too, because, at that point I was in my mid to late 20s and Courtney was in her late 20s, and starting fresh on something with no concept, with no proof of concept is a very daunting feeling for sure. So we had to be very, very careful, and I'm very thankful that we kind of went about things that way and pushed everything online first. And I feel like it was kind of a perfect timing situation as well, just due to the state of the world and everything that happened, because we were already pushing everything online, and then by the time that 2020 hit, everyone was on their phones and computers. So we were already in that mindset beforehand of push everything online, try to get people's attention. And then at that point, there was more people glued to their devices than ever before. So I think it all kind of clicked when we started putting out a lot of music videos and putting a lot of singles out and trying to grab people's attention. And yeah, I think that it kind of just worked in that way. It's very, very weird how that happened. But I find that approach and that strategy from the get-go kind of led to us talking today in a sense, which is weird.
I don't think that you're quite old enough to get nostalgic about anything, but do you miss the days when you're like 16 or 17 and barnstorming and able to sleep on the floor of a moving van?
Yes, I will say that touring has become a lot more painful on the old body. Yeah, for sure. I am 31. I'm turning 32 next week, and yeah, my back hurts. So I do miss my back not hurting and being able to sleep in Walmart parking lots and friends' hardwood floors and being totally fine. Now I'm trying to, I'm trying to stretch as much as possible and make sure that I walk around and get enough steps in every day. So it's funny how things change, but yeah, I think that without having those years, I wouldn't be as thankful and as appreciative of what I have today. So yeah, I'm happy that I did that.
Well, let me welcome you then to adulthood because it's nothing but being tired and your back hurting. So that's you pretty much got it covered now, I think.
I have a lot to look forward to.
Well, let's talk about The Void because it's a phenomenal song and it's sort of a standalone thing for now. So if you can tell me anything that you can specifically about this tune, and then to continue the answer, what else have you got down and what else is floating around and when might we see and hear things?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. The Void is a different take on things for sure. Writing that song, I didn't want there to be this breakdown moment. I didn't want there to be this heavy aspect because as we were writing it, it just was naturally coming out that way. And I've always found that if you start to question or if you start to fight something, you're not doing it for the right purpose. You're just second guessing yourself. So that song is very upbeat. It just goes and goes and goes, and that's what I wanted for it. I wanted it to be a jump up and down type song where you don't get bored, and there's no lull, there's no pause or whatever. It just keeps going until the halftime part at the end. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of just like Jimmy Eat World style rock and just upbeat stuff. So I wanted us to have a take on that, and I'm very very happy with the outcome. Um, and as far as other things in the ether floating around, people will hear some new stuff very soon, and it's actually, funny enough, it's nothing like The Void. I find that there's certain things that you have to get out of your system, and The Void was definitely one of those tracks where I was like, I would love to have a song like this. Like, let's just throw it out there and see what happens. And yeah, so the new stuff's a little different, but there's some stuff coming up, and I'm very excited for people to hear it.
I'm not surprised to hear you describe the tunes that way because it's I think one of the more intriguing things about Spiritbox, there is a great diversity of sound, which I think helps lend itself to the fact that you guys fit in really well on a lot of different kind of tours. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, from the get-go, this band has always been a project where I did not want to corner ourselves. Like, this is what we do. I
No.
don't want people to know what to expect. I find that, I look at songwriting very similar to how I listen to music. If you were to listen to my Spotify and look at my recent searches, it's just all different genres of music. And I find that that's very important because it's all interpretation, and maybe this song isn't for someone, but it's for someone over here. And if your catalog doesn't cater to as many people as possible, I just find that to be kind of um it's just not really how I would like to make music. I just don't want there to be these barriers, you know what I mean? So I think that, yeah, because of that, we are able to go and do like a rock tour or a very heavy tour or something a little bit more pop oriented because we're fans of all of that. So why not celebrate it? You know what I mean? Like, it has to be something that we're all stoked on, and I would never take a tour just because it's just like, oh, this just is what's popular at the moment. You know what I mean? We have to have a genuine interest in the whole entire package. And yeah, I suppose our catalog and the style of music that we do being kind of all over the place lends itself to being able to be on certain packages that, most metal bands might have a tough time fitting on. And that's always been a goal, is just to have as much diversity as possible within the music. So
Naturally, whenever you guys hit the stage, no matter what the kind of tour or festival is, you're always going to be yourselves. But are you able to shade the set list, the delivery of the stuff, the pattern in between to the type of thing that you're on?
yeah, we do it every time.
Yeah.
So when we went and did a Knot Fest in Australia, we definitely had a heavier set than when we went and did I mean, any previous tour, really. You know, you can kind of cater certain things. So coming up for, you know, Shinedown and Papa Roach, we probably won't have like our heaviest stuff. We're gonna have a, you know, some of our lighter stuff and everything. But ultimately, it does come down to Courtney. You know, Courtney's wearing many hats. She's an incredible vocalist, but she has to be strategic about. Well, I can't have like 4 songs in a row that are all screaming, because by the time that we go to song 5 and I'm singing, I'm going to be really tired. So we have to kind of split these up in a specific way. And I'm glad that we do that, because I feel like that kind of optimizes our show and gives everybody, you know, the best version of us possible. So yeah, it is strategic. We do plan it out. And it also depends on what type of tour we're on. When we were on Ghost, you know, like we were able to have some heavy, some lighter stuff. But yeah, a lot of it does come down to Courtney, how she's feeling, and strategizing like how many screaming versus singing songs we have in the set.
Tell me about any Spinal Tapian moments you've had during the course of your career. All bands have them. Most of them don't like to talk about them.
Yeah. The moment you
Is
said
there any
that,
1 or 2 things that come to mind that are just total, like, holy geez, I can't believe that happened?
I mean, the moment that you said that, yeah, like 1,000 things, just like it was like I just see my life flash before my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the most recent one. So on this last tour, on the Eternal Blue tour, we went a little bit crazy on the production, and for the first 3 songs, we played behind this kabuki that displayed 3D images, and then after the third song, it dropped, and then the back screen lit up. So then people had like a double, like whoa, and then after the 5th song, more lit up. So it was kind of like 3 unveilings. That was the plan for the show. So I remember we were in Dallas, actually, in Texas, and we're sound checking and doing VIP earlier in the day. And everything's going totally fine. We've checked everything previously. It's all running, and all of a sudden we're answering someone's question during VIP, and zoom, all the power just shuts out. So we're standing around. We're like, well, at least this isn't during the show, not a big deal. So we just finish up everything without a microphone, and just, you know, no issue whatsoever. We get back up and running, check everything, it's good. The problem with that, though, is that when you have a projector and something happens with the power, it all of a sudden turns off or whatever, it cycles, and it kind of gets stuck. So this being a brand new thing that we've never done before or used in the past, you know, we don't have a contingency plan for, hey, if you've already tested the projector and all of a sudden the power goes out, that means it's probably going to need a lot of like finesse and figuring out to get back up and running. So we went out to go and play, and we're standing behind this kabuki for 3 songs, and the projector didn't fire. So we're freaking out, obviously. But the other thing that's a total Spinal Tap moment is that we have our talkback mics to be able to communicate with our crew. But this type of stage, and the truss that was in the middle of the stage, it was just further back for some reason on that day. So the talkbacks were actually ahead of the kabuki. So we couldn't even get to our talkbacks to have a conversation to see what was going on and when it was. So we were standing there playing blind. And it's hilarious to me that all of this thought and all this crazy, you know, like prep and money has gone into this thing, and it's been flawless this whole time, and we're so happy and confident. And then we go out there, and it's like the worst circumstance possible, where like you're stuck literally behind a screen and can't move, and you can't communicate for 3 songs. Like if it was just 1 song, like whatever, who cares, right? But we're just like trying to put on our best show and pretend that like everything's fine. And oh my God, yeah, that's one of the most recent ones for sure. But there's so many of them, man. And I think it's just the nature of just being a band this day and age, and just like trying to always do something new and exciting, you know, and it kind of comes with the territory. Things are gonna misfire or malfunction, and you got to just roll with it, I think. Otherwise, you'd probably just curl up in a ball and never want to get out of your bedroom.
The whole time you're telling the story, all I can think is, go into rock and roll, they said. It'll be easy, they said. Lots of fun.
Yeah. They told me it was a good idea. Yeah.
And you know, one other thing I'd like to ask about the approach of set creation and filling out that time is the difference between an opening slot like with Papa Roach and Shinedown and the recent headlining, because it's not just the songs. you get a lot more breathing room in between the tunes to do things. Describe to me some of the differences between your sets, between the two circumstances, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. Headlining, you have a lot more flexibility in time. You can kind of just, it's your show, so you can kind of just figure it out. And however long you want the interludes to be, more space in between, and you want to have some banter or whatever. On those types of slots, like what we're going to be doing with Shinedown and Papa Roach, we're opening. So we're going to have like a 30-minute slot. So do you want it just to be go 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 and don't even address the audience, or do you want to pace it out and have like 5 6 songs? And so strategically you have to do a lot of prep beforehand to figure it out and time it out and make sure that Courtney does have a minute to say hey, that we're able to deliver as many songs as possible, as impactful as possible. And then there's a whole production element too, to try to throw in there to make sure people see that we've took some time and made it worthwhile for to come and see us early. Like we're used to being the hot dog band, you know what I mean? Like we're the band where everybody's getting hot dogs and popcorn and walking in while we're playing. And that's cool. I'm stoked to be the hot dog band. I'm happy to be here. But while that's happening, I definitely want to make sure that what we're doing is memorable for people, for sure. So yeah, it's a challenge. It definitely is a challenge. There's a lot of strategy and prep that goes into it, but it's a fun challenge nonetheless. So yeah, it's good.
Are there any examples of great opening bands that you've seen through the years, particularly as a kid? Because I'm always on folks to make sure they see everything they can. They've paid for the damn ticket. Like, why not see? Don't sit out in the parking lot drinking beer. You can do that tomorrow night, So are there any really good examples of phenomenal opening acts, somebody third, fourth, fifth on a bill?
Yeah, I mean, like if we're talking about as of late, like the tour that we just did, the headlining tour, we had a band, Intervals. They're an instrumental band, bunch of virtuosos that just melted everyone's faces every single night, and it was so refreshing to not have just another person telling people to kill each other or move or whatever, you know what I mean, just for about half an hour, 40 minutes of the night. And it's just was really refreshing to be able to like go about our day and just listen to very nice, pleasant music with just virtuosos. As I said, they're incredible musicians. And after that, after the burial, absolutely demolished. I mean, talk about a veteran band that knows exactly what they're doing and has it dialed. Like they could just do a throw and go and it would be perfect. It's all muscle memory. It's all locked in because they've been doing it for so long, as well. But as far as opening bands on big packages that I've seen, I recall seeing actually this is not even metal, but I is a great example of going to a show not knowing the opener. I went and saw John Mayer years ago, and a band called Laney opened, and I'd never heard of them. This was in 2018. Obviously, since then they've absolutely exploded.
You know,
But I was absolutely blown away by them. I had no idea who they were, didn't know where they were from, but I was just so mesmerized by the whole entire thing, and it sounded incredible, and everything was just on point. It didn't matter that I didn't know the songs because I was just so impressed by it. So that's a great example there for sure. And I do think it's important for people to, even if they don't know the opener, go and figure it out themselves and see if they like it or not. Like you're still getting to, as you say, you're still getting to go to the show. You can drink beer any other night or do whatever. And I mean, even if you catch a couple songs, like it's definitely worthwhile doing, in my opinion.
with the as you start to think about the set list for this tour with Shinedown and Papa Roach, when you are creating songs, we can use The Void for an example if you like, but anyone would work. When you're creating the tune, are you thinking in the back of your head, oh man, we've got to play this live, so we need an arrangement that could be played easily or well or won't be too problematic? Or are you just going to write the song and figure it out later?
So, yeah, as I'm making it, I'm definitely thinking about the visual aspect and also how it's going to go over live, because you have to be able to replicate it and you have to be able to have it be genuine. You know what I mean? You can't just throw it all on tracks and just, be, oh, we'll get through it at some point, we'll figure it out. So I don't know, a lot of the time I'm thinking about what is the audience going to do at this part? Are they going to be able to jump up and down? Are they going to mosh? Are they going to just kind of be like, mesmerized in a sense, just kind of staring?
Or are they going to go for hot dogs? You don't want that.
You know what I mean? Or is this the hot dog song? You just never know, because we have some hot dog songs, and that's cool. That's
Yeah.
that's fine. That's the way it is. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking about the whole package because, you know, I don't think it makes sense to create something and then not consider, hey, is this possible to do? Because 6 months down the line, after it's come out, or you're prepping to play it, you're gonna have a bad time. So yeah, you have to think about those things, and I think that it's important to think of not only the visual but how people will respond to the song too. It's just gonna make for a better show, you know.
Very good. Well, other than the new music that we know is floating around out there and we're eventually going to get sometime this year, yes, no?
100%.
Okay, good, good. And the other touring, what else is in the pipeline for y'all?
Honestly, it's been a whirlwind. It's been go go go. Me and Courtney moved in January, and then we went to the studio, and then we went right into touring. We got about 3 weeks off in the summer to kind of decompress, and then go into rehearsals for Shinedown, and then after October, I think this year we're gonna enter into start writing for album two. So the stuff that we do have coming out is separate from that, which I'm very, very excited about. But yeah, I think we're gonna start as soon as possible, just getting ideas down and get like just the general idea of how things are gonna feel and sound. So we're gonna hunker down and write. I think that's what we're gonna do.
Good. And when you write, what's it like? Are you locked up in a room? Are you in a studio? Do you sit alone in the dark? How does it work for you?
All the above.
Yeah.
Usually me in a
Where-
dungeon, with a laptop just hunched over like this, trying to. So that's how majority of the ideas are created. Just being in front of a laptop and presenting everything afterwards. And how does this feel? What do you think of this? Showing Courtney, making sure that things are in her range, and then just kind of getting certain melody ideas down, and then we go in the studio and hash it all out and see what comes out. But yeah, thankfully, technology has made it so you can kind of just sit there and uh, have your back hurt even more by being hunched over with a guitar in your hand and trying to make music. So
One last thing, I would be curious. I'm a voracious collector of music memorabilia. I save everything from the bazillions of shows that I've gone to all these years. Do you remember your first custom guitar pick?
oh, you know what? That actually just happened.
You just got your own custom pick for the first time?
Yeah, for this tour. Yeah. So I usually just throw out the ones that I normally use, and then before this tour, uh, a light bulb went off because Josh, our bass player, he's been in big bands before, and
Yeah.
he was, we should really be throwing out, ones that have like our logo on or our signature or something. And I was like, oh yeah, we probably should be doing that. So we hit up Dunlop, and they figured it out, and yeah, that was a lot of fun throwing those out every night. What's actually really funny that you bring that up. We just played Sick New World, and I was speaking with Head from Korn, and he gave me he just gave me this huge pick. It's like this big, and it had his picture on it.
I have one of those. Yeah.
I have one of those, yeah. So I guess he finds it hilarious to throw out gigantic size picks into the audience. But I thought that was so funny. I lost it. I was like, "There's no way you throw these out. Like, it's just crazy. Like they're huge. They're like this big." But yeah, I usually just throw out these guys. These are what I normally use. But we had ones made with the Eternal Blue Eye on them and my signature on the back. Yeah, and I threw those out throughout last month, and it was definitely fun. It was cool.
Got to have a custom pick. It's just, no offense, nobody wants to get a generic pick from you. They
Right.
want to get a cool one. So,
Yeah,
well,
for
listen,
sure.
I very much appreciate the time. I'm really happy for you. I know you had some hard working years there, and I'm glad to see everything blowing up for you so well.
Oh, well, I very much appreciate you saying that, Lou, for sure. Thank you.